Okay, so number 11 says write the equation for each graph. We're going to write the equation for the following graph. And very important, especially for the test, you want to make sure you identify what it is that you're looking at. Are you asked to graph something cosine, or are you asked to graph something sine? Remember that if you're looking at cosine and sine, cosine will start at 1, and a period would look like that, and sine would start at 0, and 1 period would look like that. Okay? Snow cone, I believe, was that acronym that we used to identify snow cone starting at 1, and then the snow, if you will, the snow with sine starting at 0. Okay. Now let's look at this graph, and we're going to start identifying the individual A, B, C, and D pieces. Alright, so D, in my opinion, is the easiest one because it's the equilibrium line, otherwise the line that cuts the wave right in half. And because of the fact that this was not shifted up nor down like a vertical translation or vertical shift, we know that D is going to be 0. The next number that I would look at, or letter, would be A, which is talking about the amplitude. So from this equilibrium line, if you will, to a maximum or to a minimum, we want to see what is the distance that covers. And in this case, it will be a -1. That's that Y change. So A is going to be 1. Don't put -1. It's just the absolute value distance per se. So that's a jump of 1. If you wanted to do it here, that's a jump of 1. So A, in this respect, will be a positive. Next we're going to look at is either B, C, or the period. In my opinion, I believe C is one that's easy to look at. Next, because the C is going to identify, did it shift to the left or right? So this, we do have to have some knowledge of our parent function for cosine is starting at 1. And you see this graph actually starting at 1 as well, as far as the Y value. So it didn't shift left, nor did it shift right. So we're going to put 0 for that horizontal shift, showing that letter of C. And then last but not least, we're going to look at finding the letter B. Okay, so the way we find B is associated with the default period of cosine. Remember, sine and cosine's default period are both 2 pi. So you do 2 pi over B. And tangent is pi, so you do pi over B. And this is to find that period that is located on the graph. So it'd be 2 pi over B is equal to how long is this period that you see on the actual graph. So let me color coordinate this a little bit better. So we want to know from the beginning of the graph to the end, that right there is showing that it's pi units long. So if I solve for B, I'm going to multiply both sides by B, and I'm going to divide both sides by pi. So it looks like B is 2. So now we're just going to write the equation out. We're going to plug in all of our values into this f of x standard form and see how does it simplify out. Let's go ahead and do that now. So I'll have f of x is equal to a cosine of b, x minus c. And now let's just plug them in. So a is 1, b is 2, c is 0, and then d would be plus 0. And if I simplify this, I will get f of x is equal to the cosine of 2x. And that would be your final answer.